The day you finally accept that most people barely notice your existence is the day your real life quietly begins. Warrior, nearly everyone you meet is drowning in their own unseen storms. They worry about bills, replay yesterday's regrets, and panic about tomorrow's uncertainty. They are not secretly tracking your every move the way your anxious mind insists. They do not have the time, energy, or attention to obsess over you the way you obsess over yourself. Yet you exhaust your spirit, pretending you are constantly on stage. You chase being noticed, being praised, being important, in the eyes of people who can barely lift their heads above their own waves. That craving becomes an invisible cage you carry everywhere. The ancient Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that others are absorbed by their own impressions and priorities, not by our imagined spotlight. Once this lands in your bones, everything shifts. Insecurity loosens its grip, comparison begins to rot and fall away. You stop living as a performer and start living as a person. Today, you will walk through 7 ruthless Stoic insights that cut your need for approval and return you to your own strength. Stay with each one until something inside you refuses to go back. Part 1. The first hard truth. Hard to swallow, but freeing once accepted. Almost nobody is thinking about you as much as you fear, and that is your escape hatch. You are not under surveillance as closely as your ego tells you. People are not running a secret scoreboard on your every mistake. They are busy wrestling with their own mental noise, flooded by deadlines, doubts, health worries, family tensions, and private shames they rarely confess. Most people barely notice their own reflection in the mirror, let alone yours. But somehow you convince yourself that every awkward step, every mispronounced word, every stumble is permanently etched into everyone else's memory. You imagine a jury that never sleeps, whispering about your flaws. The truth is far less dramatic and far more liberating. People forget you with brutal speed. Marcus Aurelius understood this when he reminded himself that each person is occupied with what appears urgent to them. He was not glorifying selfishness. He was exposing a psychological reality that can set you free from imaginary pressure. You are not the main character in their minds. Their attention is consumed by their own battles, not by your imperfections. Ask yourself honestly, how often do you obsess over someone else's embarrassing moment from last year? How long did you actually think about your colleague's failed pitch or a stranger's trip on the sidewalk? A few seconds, maybe a few minutes, then you return to your own life. The same thing happens with your disasters. They pass through people's awareness and vanish. Still, you torture yourself with thoughts like, everyone saw that, they are all judging me. You replay scenes late at night, building stories no one else is even watching. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect, where you wildly overestimate how much others notice you. This illusion keeps you timid, makes you hide, and stops you from taking the risks that would actually grow you. When you finally accept that you are not being watched the way you imagined, your life shifts at once. You stop asking permission to exist. You stop shrinking after a misstep. You stop apologizing for simply being human. You begin to act from conviction instead of fear. You also grow bolder. Public failure loses its teeth because you know how quickly people move on. Starting again no longer feels humiliating because nobody is tracking your timeline but you. Speaking up becomes less terrifying because you finally see that your voice weighs more than their fleeting opinions. You reclaim the attention you wasted trying to impress an audience that barely looked up. Stoicism reminds you that your value lives in your character, not your applause, in your choices, not their commentary. Let this first truth unshackle you. People are not fixated on you, they are fixated on themselves, and that means you are free to become who you really are. Part 2. When you stop waiting to be rescued, you turn into a force. No one is coming to live your life for you. No one is obligated to repair your habits, heal your wounds, or drag you into your potential. The moment you accept this, your strength multiplies. Many of us grow up secretly, hoping that someone will arrive and sort everything out. A perfect partner who finally understands, a mentor who takes your hand, a friend who always knows what to say, a relative who swoops in, or some magical turning point where everything suddenly aligns. Life rarely works like that. People are carrying their own burdens. They are tired, confused, stretched, and worried. They are not neglecting you out of cruelty. They are simply submerged in their own responsibilities. Stoic philosophy delivers a harsh but empowering reminder. Your freedom begins where your excuses end. Epictetus warned that if your peace depends on things outside your control, your life will always be fragile. Think about all the times you waited. You waited for someone to encourage you, for motivation to magically appear, for the right moment, for the right person, for permission. How many chances quietly evaporated while you were waiting? How many years drifted because someone else did not show up the way you hoped? That is how dreams quietly decay. But when you accept that no one is duty-bound to save you, something fierce awakens. You stop waiting to feel motivated and start building momentum anyway. You stop depending on praise and start relying on discipline when no one is watching. You stop searching for the perfect guide and begin guiding yourself from within. This is not meant to make you feel abandoned. It is meant to reveal how powerful you can become. When you embrace yourself as your own rescuer, your life stops being a story of helplessness and becomes a story of agency. You finally focus on what was always yours to control: your routines, your thinking, your reactions, your effort, your decisions. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning that external chaos does not decide his character. That mindset made him steady inside a collapsing empire. When you adopt something similar, you stop expecting others to carry loads that were always meant to shape you. Yes, people may help you, they may support, care, and encourage you, but their involvement is always limited, temporary, and unpredictable. You are the only person who never leaves your own side. That makes building a resilient, disciplined version of yourself non-negotiable. Once you truly internalize this, blame starts to evaporate. You stop resenting others for not fixing what was never their responsibility. You stop feeling betrayed when they cannot meet needs they were never designed to carry. Instead, you rise, adapt, and act. Let this echo: no one is coming, but you are capable. The warrior who becomes their own savior becomes unstoppable. Part 3. When you stop chasing attention, you discover who actually loves you. The harder you chase attention, the faster it slips away. The tighter you cling to people, the quicker they drift. Silence exposes what noise can hide. Most people do not realize this, but the moment you stop demanding to be seen, the real nature of your relationships becomes painfully clear. When you stop begging for responses, affection, reassurance, or constant presence, you start noticing who stays because they choose to, and who stays only when you are fueling the connection. This is one of the brutal truths of adulthood. When you stop carrying a relationship on your back, you discover how much strength it truly has. Stoic thinkers warned against emotional dependence because it turns love into a transaction instead of a meeting of character. Seneca wrote that genuine friendship is grounded in virtue, not in neediness. If someone remains only when you are explaining, overgiving, apologizing, entertaining, or chasing, they were never with the real you. They were with the version of you that served their comfort. Look at the patterns in your life. When you stopped messaging first, did the conversation die? When you stopped solving every problem, did the bond collapse? When you stopped overextending, did their interest fade? Those moments cut deeply, but they are also clarifying. Absence is an X-ray for connection. Many bonds crack under that test. The few that remain are real. When you demand attention, people can hide behind politeness. They can pretend, they can mimic feelings, they can mask disinterest. When you pull back, their true investment reveals itself quickly. Some people vanish, some turn cold, some grow annoyed because they lost the control your chasing once gave them, and a few, a precious few, quietly stay. Those who remain without being forced are the ones who actually care. Accepting this truth requires courage. Many people avoid pulling back because they fear what the silence will reveal. They fear abandonment, rejection, and the possibility that the relationship was never mutual. But what is the point of maintaining a connection that only exists because you never stop feeding it? Stoicism teaches that love and loyalty should be voluntary, not negotiated. Connections built on pressure crumble when truth arrives. Connections built on authenticity withstand distance, boredom, and stillness. When you stop chasing, you stop lying to yourself about who is truly there. This shift also protects your heart. You no longer resent people for not giving what they never intended to give. You no longer feel betrayed by fading effort. You simply accept the data. You respond with clarity instead of desperation. Your standards rise. Your peace expands. Your world becomes quieter, but infinitely more honest. Remember this: pulling back does not destroy real relationships. It exposes them. The people who stay without being pushed are the ones meant to walk with you. The rest were background noise you finally had the courage to mute. Part 4. When you accept the world's indifference, you become emotionally untouchable. Most people are not villains. They are simply distracted, overwhelmed, and preoccupied. The world is not plotting against you. It is simply not centered on you. When you finally accept this, you stop breaking apart over things that were never personal. One of the most painful illusions is believing that life is paying special attention to your every move. So when someone ignores you, criticizes you, forgets you, or reacts in a way you did not expect, you turn it into a verdict on your worth. You assign meaning where there is only noise. Here is the hard, Stoic truth. The vast majority of things you take personally had nothing to do with you. People are anxious. They are behind schedule. They are tired, grieving, worried, or preoccupied with problems they never speak aloud. Their cold tone is more about their exhaustion than your value. Their forgetfulness is not a code. Their lack of enthusiasm is not a secret insult. Their distance is not always a rejection. Often, it is simply life pulling their mind in 10 different directions. Marcus Aurelius wrote that others act from their own impressions, not with targeted malice toward us. In other words, you are usually a side character in their storm, not the cause of it. When this sinks in, everything changes. You stop automatically assuming the worst. You stop reading neutral behavior as hostility. You stop interpreting silence as abandonment. Instead, you see people as struggling humans, not judges assigned to grade your existence. This shift gives you a rare kind of emotional armor. Suddenly, you are less shaken by someone's mood. You are not shattered by inconsistency. You do not hand your peace to every passing reaction. You learn to stay centered even when other people are spinning. That is where your power is born. Think back to times when you spiraled because someone did not reply, did not appreciate you, or dismissed your idea. You analyzed, replayed, and constructed entire narratives about it. Yet in reality, they likely thought about it briefly and moved on. You suffered for days over something they forgot in minutes. Stoicism teaches that you must separate what is within your control from what is not. Other people's reactions, emotions, and attention will always live outside your control. When you stop expecting stability from unstable sources, you become stable within yourself. Once you accept that the world is mostly indifferent, 3 things happen. You stop taking things personally. You stop handing out access to your inner calm. You stop expecting emotional nourishment from people who are emotionally empty. This is not bitterness. It is clear vision. It is not detachment from life. It is detachment from illusions. Let this settle. The world's indifference is not an insult. It is an invitation to anchor yourself. When you stop absorbing every shift in others, you become unshakable. Part 5. When you realize people do not care about your failures, you stop fearing them. Most people forget your mistakes faster than you recover from them. Your failures are not front-page stories, they are footnotes. Once you grasp this, you stop living in fear and start living in motion. You spend so much energy terrified of failing where others can see you, terrified of being laughed at, whispered about, or judged. You imagine that every misstep will follow you forever. But again, reality is far less dramatic. Everyone is too busy dealing with their own blunders to catalogue yours. They are worried about the project they ruined, the relationship they mishandled, the opportunity they wasted. Your mistakes barely register compared to the pressure they feel about their own. Think about the last time you watched someone else fail. A friend who launched something and quit. A colleague who stumbled through a presentation. A stranger who made a clumsy mistake in public. How long did you really think about it? An hour? A day? Eventually, you moved on with your life. Their failure did not define them in your mind. That is exactly what happens when you fall. People notice briefly, then drift back into their routines. You are the one replaying the scene on loop. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that other people are consumed by their own internal narratives, not by his. So why should you sacrifice your destiny for the approval of spectators who barely notice your attempts? Failure becomes terrifying only when you believe it will haunt you forever. Once you realize that people are not waiting to see you fall, that most of them never even look up, you release yourself from the chains of embarrassment. You stop hesitating. You stop overthinking. You stop holding back. Think about the projects you never started because you feared looking foolish, the ideas you never voiced because you feared mockery, the paths you abandoned because you worried about opinions that would disappear in days. How much of your potential is buried under fear of an audience that does not exist? Here is another truth. Those who ridicule you are often projecting their own fears. People who mock are usually insecure. Those who gossip are usually unfulfilled. Those who sneer at your attempts are often terrified to make their own. Meanwhile, the builders, the people who are actually striving, rarely laugh at sincere effort. They respect courage and notice persistence more than perfection. Once you accept that almost no one is tracking your failures, you become dangerous in the best way. You begin experimenting. You speak with more courage. You act without the old paralysis. Failure stops being a shame and becomes a strategy. Every misstep becomes information. Every setback becomes training. Every attempt becomes a victory over the version of you that stayed frozen. Let this liberate you. No one is keeping score but you. When you stop fearing judgment that never existed, you unlock a version of yourself capable of almost anything. Part 6. When you understand that people do not care deeply about your success either, you learn to approve of yourself. People cheer for a moment, then they go back to their own problems. Your achievements matter most to the one person who must live with their consequences. You. This is a sobering realization. The world celebrates you briefly, then forgets. Your success might impress people for a few days or a week, but life moves on quickly. Everyone is absorbed in their own goals, plans, comparisons, and anxieties. They might clap for your wins, but they do not maintain them. They do not sustain them. You do. Once you understand this, you stop building a life just to be seen. You stop chasing achievements purely to collect admiration. You stop pursuing status like a child chasing fireworks, bright for a moment, meaningless when they fade. You start pursuing something deeper: integrity, fulfillment, discipline, and inner alignment. Stoic philosophy teaches that virtue is its own reward. Success that depends on applause is fragile. It wobbles when the crowd goes silent, and the crowd always goes silent eventually. Success built on inner principles stays rooted regardless of who is watching. Think back to a meaningful accomplishment, a promotion, a fitness milestone, a project launched, a fear overcome, a major life pivot. People may have celebrated you, but the real satisfaction came from the journey. The nights you showed up, the habits you pushed through, the old version of yourself you outgrew. The applause just highlighted what you already felt internally. Yet many people become addicted to external validation. They chase goals not because those goals matter, but because being noticed matters. They confuse visibility with purpose. They chase attention disguised as ambition. That path always ends in disappointment because temporary praise cannot fuel a lifelong mission. When you accept that no one cares about your success as consistently as you do, you stop expecting constant recognition. You stop feeling ignored. You stop mistaking silence for a lack of pride. You realize people are simply occupied with surviving their own story. Then, something transformational happens. You learn to celebrate yourself. You pause to acknowledge your progress even when nobody else sees it. You appreciate small wins, invisible breakthroughs, quiet changes. You build a relationship with yourself that does not depend on cheering sections. This makes you emotionally stronger. You no longer inflate when praised or deflate when overlooked. You stop using others' reactions as a mirror for your worth. You rise and fall based on effort and alignment, not on applause. Stoics call this inner sovereignty, the ability to hold your value within. Here is the paradox. When you no longer crave recognition, you often receive more of it. People respect those who do not beg for approval. They are drawn to those who work in silence and let their results speak. They notice those who carry quiet confidence instead of constant performance. So embrace this truth. Your victories are yours to honor. Your growth is yours to recognize. Your path is yours to celebrate. When you learn to validate yourself, you stop living for the crowd and start living for the soul that walks with you until the end. Part 7. When you stop needing approval, you become impossible to control. No one can control a person who does not crave being liked. No one can guilt-trip someone who is no longer terrified of being disliked. Approval is a leash. Detachment is the knife that cuts it. Most people have no idea how easily they are controlled, not by force or rules, but by their hunger for validation. When you ache to be liked, people sense it. When you crave reassurance, people can withhold it to steer you. When you fear disappointing others, people can tug on that fear whenever they want influence. Emotional dependence becomes a quiet chain around your life. It is not the world that cages you, it is your fear of losing its acceptance. But the moment you stop needing that acceptance, the entire power dynamic flips. You reclaim your decisions, you reclaim your identity, you reclaim your emotional climate. Stoic philosophy teaches that your greatest freedom lies in being indifferent to what you do not control, and other people's opinions, judgments, and approval never belong to you. They are external, unstable, and often shallow. Building your self-worth on them is like building a temple on sand. Notice how often people use emotional pressure. A friend withholds warmth to get their way. A partner uses silence as punishment. A coworker showers you with compliments only when it benefits them. A parent uses guilt as a steering wheel. A stranger online spits insults, hoping to provoke you. These tactics only work if you need something from them: praise, acceptance, reassurance. Remove that need, and their power collapses. Pull the craving out from under any manipulator, and they fall flat. Their strategies lose their hold. When you detach from approval, 3 powerful shifts unfold. First, you start acting from your values instead of your fears. You choose what is right, not what is pleasing. You speak truthfully instead of rehearsing what will offend the fewest people. You set boundaries instead of constantly sacrificing yourself. Second, you stop over-explaining or over-defending. People who live on approval feel compelled to justify every decision, but when you let go of that dependence, your answers become calm and simple. This is my choice. This matches my values. You no longer believe you owe everyone detailed explanations for living your life. Third, manipulative people drift away, and that is a blessing. Anyone who stays only because they can control you will not stay once you reclaim your power. Let them leave. Their absence is not a loss. It is proof that you are finally free. Here is the final paradox. The more indifferent you become to approval, the more genuine respect you attract. People trust those who stand firm in themselves. They admire those who can walk alone. They notice those who refuse to bend every time pressure appears. You become someone who cannot be pushed, guilted, or steered into betraying yourself. You become steady. You become centered. You become emotionally untouchable. Let this final truth root deeply. Freedom begins where approval ends. No one can control a mind that no longer asks for permission to exist. You do not become free when the world finally gives you attention. You become free the moment you stop needing it. Warrior, you have walked through 7 brutal Stoic reminders about indifference, responsibility, disappointment, courage, self-respect, and emotional sovereignty. If something shifted inside you, it is because these truths were never meant to crush you. They were meant to unburden you. Life becomes lighter when you stop pretending everyone is watching. Life becomes clearer when you stop waiting for a rescuer. Life becomes calmer when you stop taking every slight personally. Life becomes stronger when you stop fearing failure and start honoring effort. Life becomes deeper when you stop chasing applause and start recognizing your own growth. And life becomes truly powerful when you stop begging for approval and start living from your own center. This is the heart of Stoic practice. Your peace, worth, strength, and discipline rise from within, not from the crowd. So, as you step back into your day, carry this quiet declaration within you. I no longer need the world to care. I choose to live by my values. I reclaim my inner freedom. If this message resonated, tap like so more warriors find it, and join this journey by subscribing to Winds of Thought. Then, share one line in the comments. I am free from needing approval.